Hello guys, and welcome to Rainbow Six Siege Operators ranked from worst to best on Terrorist Hunt, or in Terrorist Hunt, I should say. Now we're going to take into account the number one factor, which is the ability. And if the ability is just as bad as other operators, the second thing we're going to take into account is the weapons and gadgets. Let's get started. Don't have that much time to spend here. Number 21, Dokebi. Dokebi's ability is literally utterly useless. Although it's pretty good in multiplayer, there's really no reason to go Dokebi in Terrorist. Activating the logic bomb doesn't actually give anybody any calls. And after killing somebody, they don't drop any cell phones for you to hack into the CCTV, because it doesn't exist. So it basically makes it pretty much just for fun. Maybe you want to use the Boss G. I can understand that. Number 20, Capitao. Yeah, this one is kind of up to opinion. It's pretty clear that Capitao is a pretty useless operator in general. He's not that good at all in multiplayer. But he's especially useless in Terrorist Hunt. Capitao's ability actually had some kind of meaning to it, being able to stop defenders from getting into the objective, or delay them, cause them a lot of damage, get them out of corners, whatever the case may be. Although in Terrorist Hunt it seems completely useless, because there really rarely is ever a situation where that's even useful, especially considering that there's so many enemies. Number 19, Ying. Although Ying's ability is actually rather unique and cool for multiplayer, it adds an interesting dynamic and is kind of like a mix between fuse and just a regular flashbang. It's utterly useless in Terrorist Hunt because there's no Jaegers. There's a lot of enemies, 20-ish enemies, and you have 3 wannabe flashbangs that maybe will stun them, maybe won't. It's just, especially hitting the fact that at least if you had a flashbang, you could refill it at the refill stations. Not Ying's Candela charges, though. Number 18, Recruit. Yes, I literally think Recruit is better than Ying, Capitao, and Dokebi. Why? Because their gadgets not only can be refilled, but are a bit more versatile. Also, they have an access to a number of better weapons. Not to say that the weapons that they have are bad, but it's just, in general, it just definitely seems like the Recruit is not the weakest link in comparison to all the other operators. Especially because you don't normally need to be any of those operators. Number 17, Thermite. Now, Thermite and Habana are kind of in the same wavelength here. Their abilities pretty much do the exact same thing, but I gave Thermite a little bit less of a lead because I personally think his weapons are not as good, although that's just my opinion. I can totally understand why somebody would say that Thermite's weapons are better than Habana's. But also, the reason why I make him lower is because he only has 2 wall breakers. Not like wall breakers are needed at all, reinforcers I should say, reinforced breakers are needed at all, considering that 90% of the time, if you're trying to break a wall, there'll be an unreinforced wall right next to it, so the Habana and Thermite's catch are pretty much going to be the exact. Number 16, Twitch. Although her weapons are pretty good, in fact, I would say that the F2, aka the FAMAS, is one of my favorite weapons in the game, just because it's really accurate, has a fast fire rate. Well, maybe not really accurate, but it's accurate, has a fast fire rate, does decent damage. I really am not a fan of her ability in Terrorist Hunt. Now, although I would have gave Twitch a much higher score back when she had 15 darts, well, because she only has 5 now, you basically are reduced to taking down the bomber's backpack explosive thing, because you won't even have enough tasers to destroy even one cluster of nitro cells. So, yeah, that kind of speaks for itself. Number 15, Habana. Yeah, I don't really have much to say here. A lot of the complaints are the same about Thermite, except I personally think that her weapons are better. Remember, we're not just talking about her primary. the Type 89. We're also talking about her secondary, the FMG-9, or sorry, the PM-9. It's just such a good secondary. And then although it might get nerfed or has already been nerfed, it's still, in my opinion, better than any of the secondaries Thermites have. And it also just gives you the option to use the shotgun as a viable substitute. Number 14, Blackbeard. I do think Blackbeard is a somewhat okay operator for multiplayer. He's not that good, however, for Terrorist Hunt, where his shield is basically only good for one kill. The shield gets destroyed almost immediately with 50 HP. Granted, obviously that's the same for multiplayer, but because there's so many more enemies, it's that much more useless. It doesn't really see the effect. In fact, it most likely won't save your life at all. Number 13, Fuse. Now, the reason why Fuse is so low is because it 100% depends on what you're running with it. It vastly depends on whether you're playing bomb, hostage, or eliminate all enemies. If you're eliminating all the enemies or playing bomb, you don't really have threat about worrying if there's a hostage in the other room, so you can basically walk in and fuse any room you want. Although, the thing is, you're not really likely to get any kills. I still think that it is possible that you're going to be able to get 1 or 2 kills, which is why I rank him higher than you normally would, and his weapons are pretty decent. The ballistic shield is not really the best option, but it is a ballistic shield, so I'll give it what it is. Number 12, Glaz. Glaz's OTS Dragunov SVU is such a great tool for taking down hatches, barricades, even taking down a little bit of wall, but it's generally not what it's used for. It's an absolutely viable tool, and especially with its thermal scope, it'll make you pretty decent at shooting people from a long distance. It's also one of the few weapons to be a one-shot headshot kill for the bombers. Overall, I think it's totally a viable choice, but not the best. Number 11, Jackal. Jackal is kind of a mixed bag. His weapons are pretty decent, but his ability is almost useless. The ability, by the way, only tracks the bombers. It doesn't attract any of the roamers, aggressors, engineers, any of those people. It literally only attracts it only detects the footsteps of the bombers. So you're essentially just looking for one bomber at a time, and there's only 3. Good thing you only have 3 scans then, I guess. Doesn't really make too much sense to ever use them. Number 10, IQ. Now, I want to point this character out because although I don't think that she's one of the best, I do think that it's one of the preferred teams. Like, I have a set of 5 operators that are going to be part of the preferred team, which I would think is the best team that you can have in a combination together, depending on, obviously, the map and whatnot. Now, reason why I put IQ this high is because she is able to detect nitro cells, which is a huge bonus. You would be able to see where the nitro cells are, you'd know that that room is safe or not. I think that's actually a really big deal in this game mode, because unlike in, for example, multiplayer, just because you see an object doesn't mean you can destroy it. But in this game, you mostly will get the opportunity to destroy it, especially through walls and barricades. And you can even, if you're like feeling really lazy, if you're playing bomb, you can find the bomb location almost immediately using IQ's gadget, which is super convenient. Number 9, Finka. This is also one of the members of the preferred teams. She's not really that high because I don't consider her abilities to be that good, but granted, I do consider her abilities to be one of the best as far as cooperating with your team. Using Finka pretty much depends on if you're playing with a team or if you're playing solo. The reason why I put her so low is because I'm kind of trying to give her a middle ground between playing solo and playing with a team. If you're using the LMG, using Finka could be quite a viable option, but generally speaking, you can just go somebody else that has a more accurate weapon. Number 8, Thatcher. I don't necessarily think Thatcher's a good operator, but it is extremely useful for getting out of bad situations, for 2 reasons. Number 1, you can EMP, and very quickly EMP, the bombs of the bombers. Super simple, saves you a lot of time. Also, a little bit less stressful. And number 2, it can take out quite a lot of inactive cells, which is kind of its intended purpose. Now, obviously, you can shoot them out individually or toss a grenade in, and it'll do pretty much the same thing. I do think that Thatcher's usability is a little bit more flexible in this case, which is why I put him up so high. Number 7, Ash, one of the best rushers. In fact, I would say probably the most popular rusher in the multiplayer thing, grand scheme. But the fact that she has both breaching charges, breaching rounds, and she's the 3-speed makes her one of the best operators to choose if you're playing Extract Hostage or Bomb. If you're trying to take out the enemies, maybe not as good, which is why I didn't put her as high as I would have, but still absolutely viable. Number 6, Lion. The reason why Lion is so high is because his ability is extremely useful. Now, although I don't generally think that his ability is that good, because you only get 2 scans and they only last for a limited amount of time. If you're down to the wire and you're looking for the enemies and you don't know where they are, for example, if you planted the bomb and you're looking for them desperately, or you're trying to seek out the last few enemies in Terrorist Hunt Classic, it can make and save a lot of time. Plus, the scans are permanently active whether they're moving or not, which means you get to see them through the walls during the entire duration of the scan, aka wall hacks. Also, I also gave Lion one of the best preferred teams. He's one of the preferred team outcomes. Number 5, Buck. A little bit less versatile than Sledge. He only has 5 plus 16 shots. He is still an absolutely amazing attacker, especially if you're playing on maps with a lot of open holes. Because the previous point, like I said, where there isn't that many walls that you can unforce, you're generally not ever going to be in a situation where you need to choose Buck over, for example, Ash. But I think that Buck is just such a great operator, especially because he has frag grenades. You can take out those nitro cells if they're a problem, and his weapons are pretty good for Terrorist Hunt. Number 4, Sledge. One of our last 2 preferred operators, and the fact that he can hit 25 objects, including walls, patches, and also an extra added bonus that Sledge gets is that he can take down barbed wire. And you know what? We all know how annoying barbed wire is. Plus, because he has the SMG-11, it makes using the M590 quite a viable option, honestly. Especially because he has grenades. Number 3, Zofia. Now, personally, I don't necessarily think that Zofia is a great operator for Terrorist Hunt, but I can't deny it. She has the most amount of utility out of all the operators that can use soft breach. Not only does she have the impact grenades, basically, she also has the concussion grenades, and those are extremely useful for dealing with bombers, as they can be considered one of the biggest threats in the entirety of Terrorist Hunt. And the fact that she can take them or make them immobile, giving you a perfect opportunity for a headshot, is a significant boost. And drum roll please! I say drum roll please now because you already know that there's only 2 operators left thanks to process of elimination. Number 2 slot is Blitz. Now, Blitz, I personally think, is one of the strongest, obviously, because I made him number 2, the strongest attackers in the entirety of Terrorist Hunt Classic, because he is a shield operator with a flash. That means that he can stop bombers from attacking him, but attack very aggressively, and push while moving really fast. Number 1, obviously, is Montaigne, if you were able to do process of elimination. Now, this one might be a little bit controversial, but personally, I think Montaigne is the best operator for Terrorist Hunt, because he is almost, not quite, but almost impenetrable. It's extremely easy to win Terrorist Hunt rounds, even on realistic. Maybe not extremely easy for realistic, but it's generally pretty easy to win Terrorist Hunt rounds if you're playing as Montaigne. Especially having flashbangs, that way you can deal with the bombers, because obviously dealing with the bombers is kind of a big problem. But if you have those flashbangs on handy, you can easily take care of the threats. I would appreciate to see your opinion. That also took like 60 minutes, aka an hour. So yeah. I'm going to be doing the Defenders round soon, but eventually you can look forward to that, but you're definitely going to see some other videos in between. Hope you guys enjoy the video and have a good one.